Welcome back to Starz Recapped, where we break down the best sci-fi thrillers and action-packed stories. Today we're diving into the 2016 Netflix original movie, Spectral, a gripping blend of science fiction, supernatural mystery, and military action. Directed by Nick Mathieu, this intense war-meets-horror film follows a team of special ops soldiers and a DARPA scientist as they confront terrifying ghost-like entities in a war-torn Eastern European city. Packed with suspense, action, and stunning visual effects, Spectral 2016 takes you on a thrilling ride as science battles the unknown. If you love sci-fi movies, Netflix originals, supernatural thrillers, and military action and films, then this breakdown is for you. In Eastern Europe, during the ongoing conflict in Moldova, American forces are drawn into what's known as the Transnistrian War. During a brutal encounter, one U.S. soldier becomes separated from his squad. Instead of waiting for reinforcements, he ventures into a nearby building on his own. Armed with experimental hyperspectral goggles, he stumbles upon a chilling scene. Bodies scattered across the dark halls, appearing as if they were frozen to death. But the real horror begins deeper inside. The soldier suddenly spots a ghostly, translucent figure, something that can only be seen through the special goggles. The terrifying discovery is being transmitted live to the command center. But before the soldier can process what's happening, the strange entity passes through him, killing him instantly. Meanwhile, back in the United States, we meet Mark, a DARPA scientist who has just completed a groundbreaking invention, a machine capable of breaking down solid materials using only energy waves. He presents his work to government officials, but they immediately push him to weaponize it. Mark resists, believing science should help people, not destroy them. But as always, the military has the final word. Soon, Mark is ordered to fly to Moldova to investigate mysterious malfunctions with the very goggles he designed. Upon arrival at the American base in Chisinau, he's greeted by General Orland and CIA agent Fran. They show him chilling footage, the last moments of the soldier's life as the Phantom appeared. Mark quickly notices strange details others overlooked, and Orland explains that these sightings have been increasing over the past 3 weeks. At first, they assumed it was just camera interference, until soldiers started dying the same way, organs frozen solid while their skin looked burned and corroded. Locals whisper about spirits of war said to haunt battlefields, while the CIA suspects advanced cloaking technology. But nothing truly explains the gruesome deaths. Determined to find answers, Mark unveils a stronger tool he brought with him, a hyperspectral camera, capable of seeing even deeper into the invisible spectrum of light, hoping it can finally reveal what these deadly apparitions really are. General Orland finally agrees to send Mark into the field, teaming him up with an elite Delta Force squad. Their mission is dangerous: track down another unit that went missing just a day earlier. Mark begins setting up his hyperspectral camera on top of a military truck, which draws a few jokes from the soldiers, who see him as just a scientist messing with gear. But Captain Cabrera, an old friend of Mark, quickly shuts them down, reminding everyone that it was Mark's team who designed much of the tech they rely on. Major Sessions, however, isn't amused. He doesn't like having a civilian along and warns Mark to make sure his machines actually work this time. During the mission briefing, the soldiers learn their missing comrades disappeared inside a 5-story apartment block, deep in enemy-controlled territory. Their orders are clear: rescue any survivors, engage if necessary, and escape alive. CIA officer Fran insists that the strange sightings are probably just enemies using advanced camouflage, refusing to consider any other explanation. Mark stays quiet, but knows better. His job is to monitor their helmet feeds from the truck. The squad makes it to the building without trouble, but inside, the eerie truth becomes clear. Both soldiers and insurgents lie dead, all killed in the same bizarre way. Suddenly, the team discovers Sergeant Comstock hiding in fear under a bathtub. Shaking, he tells them his whole squad is gone and warns them he saw something unnatural. On the next floor, the nightmare begins. A ghostly figure appears. One soldier opens fire, hitting every shot, but the bullets pass straight through. The entity simply phases through him, killing him instantly. The squad panics, unloading round after round, but nothing works. One by one, soldiers begin to fall. Mark pleads with Fran to pull the team back, but she insists they need more data. Cabrera finally orders retreat, and the survivors try to escape through a window using cables. But the Spectre follows, tearing through anyone in its path. Only a handful make it back to the truck, where Mark manages to capture shocking footage with his camera. The apparition isn't just a blur. It has a human-like body and even a face, leaving Mark both stunned and disturbed. Cabrera charges at the creature to buy the other's time, but like the rest, his bullets do nothing. He's killed, but his sacrifice allows the last survivors to flee. They speed away in the truck, but the danger isn't over. Mark tries to question Comstock about what he saw, but before he can finish, the vehicle shakes violently. It's driven into a hidden minefield. The explosion kills Comstock and the drivers instantly. Mark grabs the hyperspectral camera before escaping with the others into an abandoned factory. They try to regroup and contact the base, but their radios barely work, leaving them trapped, hunted, and desperate for answers. Inside the abandoned factory, the surviving team tries to process what just happened. At this point, they can no longer deny it. What they saw wasn't advanced technology or cloaking devices. It was something else, something supernatural. Mark explains that the entity they encountered looked human in form, and the way it stared at him showed a sense of awareness, as if it wasn't just a mindless force. Still, he admits he doesn't fully understand what these things are. With their goggles destroyed in the truck crash, Mark sets up his hyperspectral camera so they can at least keep watch. When they check outside, they see dozens of ghost-like figures lurking in the shadows, trying to approach, but something keeps them back. The soldiers realize the building is surrounded by a ring of iron shavings, creating a barrier that the specters cannot cross. Clearly, someone had placed it there on purpose. Just then, strange noises echo from another room. The team bursts in, weapons ready, only to frighten two terrified siblings hiding inside. Their names are Sari and Bogdan. They don't speak English, but Fran steps in to translate. The kids explain they've been on their own since the chaos started. In that same room, the soldiers also find a makeshift radio tower that blasts a powerful signal. Sessions warns that anyone nearby, including enemy forces, can hear them, but it's still their best shot at calling for help. While the soldiers work on communications, Mark talks to the siblings. Through Fran, he learns that their father built the iron barrier around the building. According to Sari, he believed the specters were lost souls, spirits trapped between worlds, unable to move on. Mark asks to see her father, so Sari quietly leads him and Fran away. What she hasn't told her younger brother is that their father died while creating the barrier, and she dragged his body inside to protect him. Mark examines the man's belongings and finds a necklace with a ceramic tile and a map of a nearby district called Masarov, the same place where sightings of the specters first began. Sari doesn't know how her father discovered that iron could repel them, but she's sure Masarov holds the answers. Back at the factory, the soldiers finally make contact with the base. Reinforcements will arrive at dawn with tanks and helicopters, waiting for them at an open plaza half a mile away. The team debates the plan. It's risky because there's no cover out there. But Mark proposes a bold idea. The factory has plenty of iron shavings, so they can build improvised explosives to actually hurt the specters. On top of that, he modifies his hyperspectral camera into a massive spotlight capable of exposing the entities in the streets. The instructions for this device are also sent to base, so the rescue team can build their own searchlights and make it through the city safely. As the soldiers prepare their defenses, Sari finally finds the courage to tell her younger brother the truth. Their father didn't survive, and she places his necklace in Bogdan's hands. Before the moment can settle, strange noises echo outside. The team switches on their modified searchlight and makes a horrifying discovery. The specters have figured out a way past the barrier. They're crawling over rooftops and leaping across power lines to bypass the iron ring. Realizing the factory is no longer safe, the squad prepares to move. Sari leads them to a back exit, but the entities chase them through the streets. Mark directs the beam of his searchlight at the phantoms, making them fully visible, and the soldiers unleash their new iron-filled rounds. This time, the weapons work. The bullets tear through the creatures, though the blasts are so powerful they almost knock the shooters back. To buy more time, the team fires additional rounds into the air, creating a cloud of iron dust that slows the monsters down. Following Sari's lead, they finally reach the rendezvous point at an open plaza. Hiding inside an abandoned bus, they realize the searchlight's power is nearly drained, leaving them vulnerable to another attack. Just as fear begins to sink in, the sound of heavy armor approaches. The rescue team has arrived, bringing tanks equipped with their own searchlights. When activated, the beams expose dozens of specters hiding among the buildings, and the tanks immediately open fire. But chaos quickly follows. The soldiers who came with normal weapons stand no chance. One by one, they're wiped out, and the tanks themselves come under attack. The specters rip through the machines, destroying the lights, but strangely unable to penetrate the ceramic sections of the armor, something Mark takes careful note of. In the middle of the battle, the group realizes Bogdan is missing. He went searching for his father's necklace, which slipped from his pocket. Before Sari can reach him, one of the specters phases straight through the boy, killing him instantly. Mark confirms the worst, and Fran holds Sari as she breaks down in grief. The surviving soldiers prepare for the end as the creatures start gathering in one massive swarm. But salvation comes from above. Helicopters descend, and the powerful downdraft from their blades pushes the specters back. Thinking fast, Mark smashes the iron grenades on the ground, and the rotor wash scatters the metal shavings through the air, creating a barrier that drives the entities away long enough for the group to escape. Once airborne, relief turns to dread. Instead of heading back to base, the pilots explain they're diverting to a refugee bunker. The base has already been overrun. From the air, the team sees the full scale of destruction. The entire city is crawling with specters. At the bunker, armed guards surround them until Fran speaks the local language to identify the squad. They're allowed inside, where the soldiers immediately sweep the facility for threats. Meanwhile, Mark and Fran take Sari to a medic. She was injured by shrapnel during their escape. To comfort her, Mark hands back her father's necklace, which he recovered after Bogdan's death. As she holds onto it, Mark gently asks what her father knew about the creatures. All Sari can share is that her father once worked in Masarov, crafting ceramic components for the local power plant, the very place where the nightmare first began. A heavy thud suddenly echoes outside the bunker. The soldiers prepare for the worst. But it's not the enemy. It's General Orland arriving with the last survivors from the base. Only 19 people made it out alive, carrying whatever gear and supplies they could salvage. Orland explains that their base was torn apart by these invisible attackers, and the retreat was so rushed they never even got a chance to call for backup. Now, their only option seems to be digging in and holding the bunker. Tension quickly sparks among the soldiers. Some want to strike back, while others argue it's pointless and too dangerous. The debate is cut short when Mark suddenly speaks up. He's finally pieced everything together. He explains that when Comstock hid under the bathtub, he survived because it was made of ceramic. The specters couldn't pass through the ceramic armor of the tanks either. They're vulnerable to iron, they radiate deadly cold, and they can phase through walls, but not ceramic. These strange properties point to one thing, a rare state of matter called a Bose-Einstein condensate, first predicted by Albert Einstein and Satyendra Nath Bose. Creating such a state would require massive energy, exactly what the Masarov power plant provides. That means these creatures aren't ghosts at all, but a weapon unleashed by the enemy, and if someone built them, then they can also be destroyed. Mark remembers the experimental device he had finished back in the US, a weapon capable of firing plasma discharges. If he can build more of them with the electronics salvaged from the base and whatever's left in the bunker, they may finally stand a chance. The team immediately gets to work. Among the supplies, they even recover a quadruped robot nicknamed the Mechanical Rottweiler, which they outfit with a powerful searchlight to guide them. Studying a map of the city and combining it with intel from locals, Fran helps plot a safe route to the Masarov plant. With their plan set, Orland rallies the soldiers with a speech, reminding them this is their chance to fight back. The mission begins. Helicopters carry them toward the power plant. As soon as they land, the Mechanical Rottweiler's spotlight reveals a wave of specters rushing in. The first squad tests Mark's plasma weapons, and to everyone's relief, they work perfectly. The energy blasts tear through the phantoms, shattering them for good. Once the first wave is down, the remaining squads disembark to hold the perimeter. Meanwhile, one helicopter pushes forward, carrying Mark, Fran, and 2 soldiers straight into the heart of the plant. They barely make it inside before more specters attack, forcing the group to split. The soldiers stay behind to hold the line, while Mark and Fran rush deeper into the facility, determined to find the lab before it's too late. Mark and Fran eventually come across a heavily secured door. With Fran's hacking skills, they manage to override the lock and step into what turns out to be the main laboratory. The site inside is grim. Every scientist is dead. On the tables, they find disturbing evidence. X-rays showing human scans at a molecular scale, along with a specialized 3D printing system used to recreate humans in a strange condensate state. It's no longer a mystery. This wasn't just research, it was a full-scale weapon program. As they push deeper into the lab, they discover rows of containment cells filled with specter-like entities. Many cells are shattered, suggesting a catastrophic breach that allowed the deadly creatures to escape, overwhelming the scientists before they could stop it. In the center of the room sits a massive machine, complete with an emergency shutdown sequence filled with dense technical language that Fran needs time to decode. Meanwhile, outside, the battle intensifies. The soldiers realize the specters have evolved, now capable of reassembling themselves after being hit, making them far harder to destroy. Losses mount as men are struck down one by one. Back inside, Fran finally cracks the sequence. If they release all the ports and pull the main bracket, the machine should collapse the Spectres entirely. Mark climbs onto the system to execute the procedure while Fran lays down cover fire against any escaping entities. The situation outside grows critical. A massive vortex of spectral energy begins forming, blasting soldiers off their feet. At the same moment, Mark yanks free the final cables and bracket, triggering a violent shockwave. He's thrown from the machine as the soldiers outside are sent flying. Across the battlefield, the Spectres let out agonized faces before dissolving into nothingness. Catching her breath, Fran rushes to check on Mark. Together, they stumble onto a hidden chamber below, and what they find is horrifying. Inside are rows of human brains and nervous systems suspended in capsules. These weren't just scans. The scientists had been harvesting real people to power and control the Spectres. The captives are still alive in a twisted, painful state. Heartbroken, Mark begins disconnecting them to end their suffering. Fran protests, insisting they should consider the larger mission, but Mark insists the real, bigger picture is showing mercy to those who were turned into living weapons. With the Spectres finally wiped out, reinforcements from the US military arrive to extract the survivors and relocate them to a safer base. But peace doesn't last long. Only a few days later, the unit is ordered back into action. This time, their mission is to recover the advanced machines from the power plant so the government can study and replicate the technology behind them. Before leaving, Mark shares a heartfelt farewell with Orland and Fran, and in a touching moment, Sari expresses her gratitude to Mark in English, a small gesture that carries deep meaning after everything they've endured. With that, Mark boards a plane bound for America, closing this chapter but leaving open the question of what secrets and dangers the captured technology might bring in the future. And that wraps up the story of Spectral 2016. A sci-fi thriller that blends war, mystery, and advanced technology into one intense ride. What began as a terrifying fight against ghost-like creatures turned out to be the result of human science gone too far. In the end, Mark and the team managed to stop the Spectres, but the government's interest in the machines hints that the danger might not be over just yet. Thanks for watching this breakdown on Starz Recapped. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more movie explanations and endings explained. Let us know in the comments. Do you think Spectral deserves a sequel?